Hello, my name's Fiona and I want to show you how I would deal with a mitred V neckline. So I've already, as you can see, knitted a sample neckline, and when I do a V neckline I like to take a centre stitch off onto a stitch holder if I can, and then when I'm working the decreases, I work my decreases 2 stitches in from the edge on either side. And again I'm going to use mirrored decreases, so on this side of the neckline I'm going to use a knit 2 together, and on this side of the neckline I use a slip 1 knit 1 pass slip stitch over, or SSK as is more often used in America. So I've already done another video explaining how to pick up stitches on a round neckline. The method of picking up is very similar for the V neckline. You work 1 stitch in from the edge, so if I turn this over you can see that I've got a 1 stitch salvage on the inside. But the rate of pickup is slightly different on a V neckline. Because you're picking up along a diagonal line rather than a vertical line, you need more stitches. So I usually pick up at a rate of about 5 stitches for every 6 rows. Once you've picked up your stitches, and again it's very important to make sure you have the same number of stitches either side of your centre, you then have to work out your knit 1 purl 1 rib if that's the band you want to make. The easiest way to do that is to start from the centre point, which you know wants to be a knit 1, and work back to the point at which you're going to start knitting to work out which stitch you want to work. So as you can see, I've already got my neckband going here, and the rest of the knitting is fairly straightforward apart from making the decrease at the mitre point, and this is the bit of the garment that is most obvious if it's not very well worked. So I use a double decrease to do my mitred V, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate now. I use a centre double decrease to work this, and this is the way you would work it. So I'm working in my rib pattern to 1 stitch before that centre knit stitch. So I've got a couple more stitches to go. Right, so I've now come to my centre knit stitch, and that's 1 stitch before. I'm now going to work the decrease over these next 3 stitches, and to do that I want to put my yarn to the back because it is a knit decrease. I'm going to slip the next 2 stitches together to the right needle as if I was going to do a knit 2 together. So I slip them together to the right needle. You then knit the next stitch, and then using the left needle I'm going to lift both slipped stitches over together. And what that does is that it keeps this centre stitch at the front, and the 2 stitches that have been decreased go behind the centre stitch to give you a nice vertical line at the centre of your neckband. You'd then just continue to the end of the row, again just working in the rib pattern that's already been set. The other point that you do need to remember when working this particular neckband is that when we come back on the wrong side, the centre stitch on the wrong side is going to be a purl stitch. So on the next row I will actually keep in pattern because I've got a knit stitch there, then a purl stitch, and then a knit stitch. But on the previous row you may have noticed just before I worked the decrease I had 3 knit stitches together. So on that previous wrong side row I had had to purl 3 stitches when I got to the centre here, because you must maintain the correct stitch at this centre point. Once you've got the hang of how to do the mitred decrease, the rest of the neckband is very straightforward, just worked in rib, and it will give you a beautiful mitred shape for the finish of your neckband. So if you can see, as I've come along a bit more here, you can see the stitches just beautifully fitting in behind that centre stitch. The only other point I would make is that I usually do my casting off on a right side row, so that when I get to that centre point I do work a final double decrease in order to keep the cast off edge nice and tight as well. So I hope that helps you to give you some really neat V-neckline finishes.